Thanks for tuning in to Bitches Be Cray. Just a quick reminder, everything we share on this show reflects our personal experiences and what's worked for us. We're not healthcare professionals, so if you or someone you know is dealing with a medical or mental health concern, please reach out to a qualified professional for support. What's up, bitches? Welcome to Bitches Be Cray. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Nancy. And today we're going to be talking about EMDR.
Yeah, good old EMDR. So on the last episode, Nancy interviewed me about my ADHD results, and I'm like, okay, you just did EMDR. That feels like it's all the rage right now, right?
It really is. It really is.
And so we're like, let's talk about your experience. I mean, you're just dipping your toes so far, and I think maybe we can have a check-in on this later. But for anyone out there who's curious about EMDR, this could be like a nice little introduction.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like EMDR is something that I always wanted to try, but I felt like it was just unobtainable to me because my therapist didn't even do it.
Yeah. So that's not one of my questions, I don't think. But so you just mentioned it to her, and she was like, "Sure, yeah."
No, because everybody's around me who had been doing it, and my sister-in-law's like, I think you would really benefit from EMDR. But my therapist did not do it. So I didn't want to have two therapists. Like, I love my therapist. I didn't want to have and I also thought it had to be in person. So for me, I'm like, I would have to find somebody in town that does it, all this bullshit. So I just didn't want to do that. So I was like, I'm okay with it. So I mentioned to her, I was like, how do you feel about EMDR? And she was like, I'm actually training right now to do EMDR. And I was like, oh my God.
So I don't know if you'll know the answer to this, but while she's training, did she have to practice like?
I am her practice.
Oh, you are okay. So you're part of her, like, okay.
Yeah,
That's kind of cool. A little scary, but pretty cool.
Yeah.
So before we get started, can you explain to us what EMDR is?
EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, is a structural therapy that uses bilateral stimulation like eye movements to help individuals process traumatic memories and reduce associated distress. It aims to reprocess these memories, allowing them to be stored in a way that no longer triggers negative emotion or belief.
We got that straight up from Google, just so you know. Thanks,
Cleveland
Google.
Clinic.
The Cleveland Clinic. Awesome. So let's get started with the questions. I have them broken up into like 5 different sections.
Of course you do.
Question number 1, what made you decide to try EMDR?
I think that my childhood trauma has been something that I have not just been able I haven't been able to overcome it. Like I have like this very deep rooted trauma that I just don't belong. And I have this very deep rooted trauma that I am not enough and that I am not lovable. So I felt like I've done so many things. I've worked on my inner child, and I'm still working on my inner child. But it just felt like I just needed that extra help because I feel like that those beliefs are very hardwired into my brain. And I just did not, I don't know how to get rid of them. I have positive affirmations, all this bullshit. And I'm just like, it's still something, and it affects my life.
Yeah. But in terms of like EMDR specifically, I know you said you felt like everyone around you was doing it. So what do you think like pulled you in to be like, oh, maybe let me ask my therapist if she does that?
My sister-in-law, like she told me that she thought that I would benefit from some EMDR. Okay. So I was like, well, let me ask this bitch. And coincidentally, she was like, yay.
She's like, great, I need some subjects to practice on. Cool, good timing.
Yeah.
Okay. Were you nervous or skeptical going into it?
Skeptical, no, because I feel like I'll try any crazy shit. Nervous, yes, a little bit, because I know that there has to be some like processing after and all that, and it's just like, because healing's not fun. So that's why I was just like, do I want to do MDR right now?
Right, because maybe you went in for one thing and something else. I've actually saw something where I went in for trauma about being like my house broken into, and like then it like turned into something else. Like,
Yeah, it did turn into something else. It did.
okay. So what were you, I feel like you kind of already answered this, so maybe we'll skip it if you want, but what were you hoping EMDR could help you with specifically?
At the end of the day, I want to heal my mom.
Okay.
That's 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 the end goal for me. I feel like that's where the root of obviously all my problems come from.
So the next set of questions is about like the prepping process. What did your therapist explain about how EMDR works?
Because did she even explain it to me? Because I already know what it was.
Okay, so maybe you can just explain in case someone.
So it's basically, in plainest terms and simplest terms, you're going to go to a time and place in your life where you suffered a trauma. It could be anything. It could be a car wreck or near death experience. Somebody, I mean, it could be also like abuse. And you're going to basically rewire your brain to, I guess, replace it with something positive.
And it's a question that's coming up later, but it has to do with like bilateral.
Bilateral movement. So that was my biggest issue too, because I was like, how does bilateral movement help when you do the butterfly tapping, like, because I was also like, I'm doing it right now, guys. um because it's basically your eye moving around, but I'm like, how do you do that virtually? That was what's my question always. I'm like, there's no way people do this virtually, but I guess they do.
I mean, we found ways to do a lot of things virtually. Probably no one thought they would do, right? So,
Right.
I mean, so many things. But I mean, no, I think that was something I wondered too, because like we mentioned, I was about to do EMDR, and my therapist and I were meeting virtually, but she is local. So she had said,
Mm-hmm.
it would be better if she didn't say 100% we're not doing it virtually, but it would be better if you came in, because then you really can, because there's lots of different techniques. Like there's these buzzers people hold, there's
Yeah.
the light bar, there's like what you said, the butterfly taps, and who knows what else there is.
Yeah.
And obviously it's better, or you have to be in person for some of those. But my new therapist, she's only virtual, and she's like, yeah, we can do it virtually, and obviously
Yeah.
yours is too, so it's possible.
Mine said that we could do that. There was a couple ways. She said, "What? Do you, I wanted to try the butterfly first, because if not, then I would have to log onto my actual computer and follow this ball."
Yeah.
And she would be the one controlling the ball. Like it'll go across the screen back and forth, back and forth. I was actually listening to something today that said that walking outside is where EMDR came from,
Oh,
because the person that developed EMDR noticed that when people go outside, they're looking everywhere.
I think I heard something about this too.
Yeah, and it says that when you have anxiety, go outside and walk, and you'll start looking everywhere, and it'll start making you feel good, and you do feel good when you go walk outside. So she said the first thing to do when you're feeling anxious, go outside and walk.
Look at that.
Hmm.
People always talk about being out in nature and how good it is for your like for self-care and mental health. And so look, now there's a
Hmm.
whole nother reason to go outside. Was there any prep work you had to do before your first session?
Hmm. The first one was I built a container where the container is basically a thing, or it could be anything. Mine, I'm going to tell you what mine is. I don't give a shit. Mine's a human size safe, and you punch in the code, and then you open it, and then you shove shit in there mentally that you don't want to deal with at the moment, and then you put them in the container. But mind you, guys, when you first do I started doing it with little things, because if you put, let's say your dog just died, that's a big thing. Like, you're not gonna successfully leave that in the container. So you start with little things like, let's say the bitch at the counter was mean to you. You put that shit in the container. You don't think about it all day while you're at work. And then when you come home and you want to like go through it, then you can virtually, and they're going there, take that shit out of the container and do what you got to do with it. So we did that. And then we also thought of the my safe space, which is this little mountain view in my home in Mexico. That's always my safe space and everything in every meditation. It's this little like piles of dirt that you can slide down when we were kids. It was fun. Um, that's my safe space. So every time she mentions, every time I guess I didn't get to there, but if it gets to like a point where
Like it's too scary.
I guess it's too scary, you go to your safe space. And also, she said you could use it in your everyday life. Like let's say like you have anxiety to go somewhere, you could put yourself in your safe place because it's already like we like tapped it in.
Okay.
We did that, and then you do have to go over like your space, like as of right now, like how safe do you feel, like from one scale to this, blah blah blah, blah. Like because if you don't feel safe in your space, then it's more likely not to work. And that was pretty much it.
Okay. Yeah. So I find it interesting that, well, I mean, I guess if you're used to going in person to your therapist, maybe you would feel safe in their like office, you know? But I think for me, I didn't even think because we didn't get that far. But I wonder if I would have felt comfortable enough because it wasn't a place I went to, or if I would have felt more comfortable doing it at home.
I don't even know if EMDR is good with fresh people.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the beginning of a relationship, unless you just meet this magical therapist that you're just like, oh my God, we just hit it off and he's along my life. But I feel like you do because
like you need a trust.
Yeah. And also like, I mean, obviously my trauma, it's big to me, but it's not like big like other like there's people's trauma that is like giant, I'm like crazy shit. Like they were like abused by their father, stuff like that.
Right. And you're going to go talk to somebody you just met.
You just met about that shit,
I mean, think about it, like, I feel like probably both of us have at some point during therapy even felt reserved at some point, but you and I are pretty open with each other. I mean, we're sharing these experiences with, all these people.
Those 3 people that listen. I'm just kidding.
No, there's more than 3. Thank y'all. But yeah, like for somebody a little more like maybe introverted or apprehensive, I could see that being extremely intense. How long have you been with your therapist again?
It'll be 2 years in August.
Okay, so you've definitely, you've had a long enough time, I think, to build up.
I love her.
Yeah, that's amazing.
She looks like the girl from 13 going on 30.
Oh, Jennifer Garner?
Yes.
Yeah, I could see that.
She's so fucking attractive.
I could see that. That's funny. Well, because we're talking about containers, I'll just share mine too so the audience here can have another example because, again, I started the process. I didn't finish it, but I did start the prep process. And I'm a little type A. So my container was a filing cabinet that was color coded. But I liked the idea of a filing cabinet because I wanted my like little things to be very organized. So like Nancy mentioned, you might put something small in there. So we practiced the day I made my container of being able to put something in there. And mine was like, that's why I had a folder in my file cabinet for like work, like little like work frustrations. And so whatever had happened to me that day at work, I'm like, I'm really frustrated about whatever it was. I don't remember anymore because I filed it away.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was really cool. And actually, after the whole thing happened with my therapist, which we haven't told our therapist stories yet, but part of like when I was ready to move on, like I tried to stuff the issue I had with my therapist in the I'm like, let me use this new technique and put it in the filing cabinet, and it didn't work because I think it was just that was too much for me. I also had to have a safe space. I always tend to choose like a field or a meadow, but for some reason I didn't. This time I wanted it to be something that I'd actually been to before. So I chose like my yoga mat because that's the place I feel calmest, like in the mornings when I do yoga, and I feel like that's something I could very easily visualize. But I just got back from a cruise and like the balcony, I had like a balcony out there. So it felt like so peaceful. There was like no one around me, just like me in the ocean. There's like a little hammock out there. So I'm like, man,
this is it.
Maybe I'm going to use this because now I really have a good visual of how that is. And I'm like, that feels super peaceful too. So I don't know what the end I'll choose. But something else that I did have to do that you didn't do was she asked me to choose like a safe person.
No, I didn't do that. No.
So I think maybe it just depends on if somebody thinks you're going to need it or different. I mean, I don't know. But she was like, don't really choose someone like don't choose your best friend, don't choose somebody, But like she's like, you could choose like Wonder Woman, but I chose my first grade teacher because I always felt really like safe and protected by her. So, and actually that was the only thing I cried about that day in therapy. I think it's because I realized reflecting on that relationship, like she was one of the first adults who really made me feel like seen and heard. And so I'm like, oh my God, why am I crying about out of all the things I'm crying about today? This is what it is. Okay. But anyway, all right. How did you feel emotionally going into that first session? Like before, like the day, like leading up to it?
Detached and resistant.
Mm.
I felt very detached and resistant, almost like if it wasn't happening. But I'm also comparing it to how I think I would be if I wasn't on an anti-anxiety medication. Because I feel like if I wasn't an anti-anxiety medication, I probably would have like gone off a rampage or something. So I feel like now that I'm like my feelings are more contained and I am able to process my feelings better, I do think that there's a huge difference on how I act. But I did feel a lot of resistance and almost denial, if that makes sense. Like I just acted like the usually when something like that is gonna happen or I'm gonna do something new, I just like think about it all day or overanalyze it or blah 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 blah. But I just
Mm-hmm.
didn't. It
Mm-hmm.
almost felt like avoiding, kind of.
Okay. Because I was going to say, I know at one point, and I don't know if it was the same day, it might have even been a day or two before you told me like you were like nervous about it.
Hmm.
But maybe you moved past that and you're like, all right, fine, we'll just pretend it's not happening.
Yeah, I feel like avoidant, but like I also don't, like I said, I don't know if these are normal reactions because I don't know if this is how normal people act.
Do you think you felt that way because you were afraid it was going to like open up something or be like really intense? Or you just because it was new and you didn't know it was like,
I was afraid that I was just not gonna even let it happen.
okay.
That I was just gonna like shut down
Yeah.
and I wasn't gonna be able to actually get anything
I'm sure
processed.
that does happen.
Yeah, it
Okay.
kind of almost happened.
Yeah. Because like you said, a lot of people use EMDR for some,
Really deep shit.
yeah, some scary or traumatic stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
people, I mean, it's not fun to go there.
Mm-mm.
So, all right, our next set of questions is about the session itself. So, okay, tell us what actually happens during an EMDR session.
So you pick a certain thing that you want to. So basically, you pick the topic, and it's like a set of words. For me, it was I've always felt like I didn't belong and I didn't fit in. Like I've always felt that. Like I've always felt like, especially with women, like my entire life, I feel like I've been ostracized by women, even when I was in the farm in Mexico, and then when I moved here. So she asked me to pick like a time as an adult where I felt ostracized, a time as a teenager, like in high school when I felt it, elementary, um, and when I was in Mexico. So in Mexico, I remember feeling it, but I'll get to when I linked it to Mexico. But so I picked the one in elementary school, and it was these girls that were from my farm. Two of them were my friends, and the other ones were not my friends. They've always hated me, but they were having like a cookout down the street from my old neighborhood over there by the high school. And I remember I showed up on my bike, and I know that the other two, I knew that the other girls didn't like me, but I knew that two of them did like, three of them did like me. So I was like, it's gonna be fine. And when I show up, like they all like ignored me and like laughed at me and made,
Like the ones who didn't like you kind of like ganged everybody up against you kind of thing?
yeah, the other ones never liked me again,
Oh, like mean girls.
and I had never done anything to them either. So I just got on my little bike and went home. And the thing is that at the moment I didn't even really process it.
Like during your session?
No, 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 in real life. And then she kept asking me, "How do you feel?" So basically, we relived that moment over and over and over and over and over until the feeling got to a zero. So she would ask you, "How do you feel right now?" So she would be like, "Go back to the moment." You have to like basically. I get in my bike, I drive, I ride over there, I get to them, I feel it. You do that over and over, and then you tap it over and over, over and over, over and over, over and over, until the feeling. And after you're done of tapping, you're like, "What do you feel now?" And then you would be like, "I feel sad." Okay, let's fit into that, and we tap it in. And then we would do that a couple times. She'd be like, "Okay, from a scale to one to this, what do you feel?" So the goal was to get to the closest we could in that session to a zero.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, it got to the end, and she was like, "What do you want?" And I'm like, "My mom." Like it was really that. I feel like the very first ever feeling of me not being wanted. it wasn't even anything my mom did while I was outside, living outside. I think it's from the very initial conception because and I don't like guys. I don't blame my mother. I am number 8
with a big gap.
Mm-hmm. My mom was almost 40. My brother was 6 years old. Um, she did not want me. She was embarrassed of me. She hid me for a very long time.
Because she was older?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, she was embarrassed of me. So she was very pregnant. But apparently, my siblings say that my mom didn't really show very much on her pregnancies. So my siblings say that when my mom went into town, she didn't take any of them. They knew that they were gonna come home, that she was gonna come home with a baby.
No.
Like she's gonna come home with a baby. So yeah, it took months for her to even tell anybody. Like my siblings didn't even know. My oldest sibling was 19 years old. She was also pregnant.
So you're basically saying you think you just felt rejection, like literally from the womb.
Mine since the moment I was conceived. So I feel like that's something that I really I already go into situations when there's a bunch of women already thinking that they're not gonna like me, and then that they're going to persuade the women that do like me into not liking me.
Well, I mean, yeah, look at your, like what happened at the cookout. That's
Mm-hmm.
literally what
And it
happened.
happened all my life. It happened in high school. The same thing happened in middle school. Like bitchy women would get other the women not to like me.
Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
hard to have to go through it again and again and again.
Mm-hmm. So I at some point I just learned to stay away from women.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, hopefully this EMDR by the time you're done.
No, I want to fix it because I don't. If I don't fix it, I just have very. I'm a very firm believer of like family karma.
Yeah.
I don't want my daughter to go through that. I don't.
So, did anything unexpected come up during the process? I almost feel like the fact that you ended up at your mom might have been unexpected, right?
That's unexpected for me, and I couldn't cry. Like I had the feeling that I wanted to cry because just the mere thought of my daughter cycling down the street to meet up with at least 3 people that she thought she was really good friends with, and then her being turned away, and then her telling no one, that's like humiliating. Like that must have been so humiliating. And then I never told anybody.
Right. Like because like I'm literally trying to picture that happening to your child, and I know your child would come and tell you.
Yeah.
And she would probably come tell, like if I was around, she would tell me to, you know what I mean? Like you've given her this,
Mm-hmm.
like she trusts you.
Yeah.
She has this safe space and you didn't have that. And that is
No,
really
I had
sad.
nobody. Nobody knew that none of this was happening to me. So I feel like in turn, I became this bitch because anybody that knows me think that doesn't really know me, but that they think that they know me, they think that I'm this like callous, mean, cold bitch. But the thing is that I had to become that because I was bullied so hard by these bitches.
Like you had to get tough. You had to wear a mask.
I had to get tough, and then I built this reputation of being a bitch. And then at one point, I believed it, and I feel like I never really got the chance to be who I truly was meant to be. And this, and I feel like I'm barely right now opening up to being like like the person that I was dating who'd be like, "You're so sweet," and I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about? I am not sweet. Get the fuck out of here." He's like, "Yeah, you are." He's like, "You really are," and I was just like, "Okay."
You're like, no one has ever accused me of being sweet.
No one's ever accused me of being sweet.
No, like, I think you are sweet. You are sweet. Maybe to certain people. People you feel safe to be sweet with. How about that?
Yeah, but I feel like I'm nice in other ways. Like I show my niceness in other ways. Like, but yeah, I feel like
Like you were robbed of being who you
yeah,
truly are.
I was.
That makes sense. It does.
I think all of us were. I'm not special.
Were there any moments where you felt like, WTF, what is happening? Like during your session?
No, no. I feel like I was. It was my first session, so I felt very dissociated
No.
because I didn't really feel any of the feelings until later. We'll talk about that later. I felt very dissociated. I felt kind of like when you drive somewhere, you don't know how you got there. Yeah. Like that. That's how I felt.
Yeah. And we've kind of already talked about this, but what tools or techniques were used in your session? Light bars, tapping, eye movement. I guess maybe that kind of leads me to like a part B question, because I know you did like what they call the butterfly tap.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have to keep your eyes open, closed? Like, I guess what I'm trying to understand is, like, if your eyes were closed, would that kind of almost force them to like kind of track your hand movements, or did your eyes move at all? Because EMDR,
I stay with my eyes closed. Mainly because I didn't want to look at her looking at me. Yeah, I didn't want her looking at me, so I just closed my eyes and I just did it.
so these next set of questions are about after the session. How did you feel immediately after?
I was still very disassociated. It wasn't like 3 days later that it finally happened.
Yeah, because I was anxiously waiting on the other side to hear how it went
For something great to happen.
and you were like, I don't really know.
Yeah, I just literally like I feel like I just didn't allow myself to process it. I feel like I was very guarded. I feel like I said, it wasn't this that sole instance. It's not that dramatic. Who hasn't been bullied? It wasn't like I know like it might sound silly, like, oh, she's so traumatized because some girls bullied her. It was just the fact that it was my entire essential years of my life, and it wasn't just that one group. It was like multiple groups of, and it was just always Hispanic women too. So I feel like that's what really just like it made me be a loner as well. So I feel like at that moment afterwards I just like completely disassociated from the thing. It wasn't till like a couple of days later that I started feeling like the same feelings that I felt when I was little.
Like the rejection.
Hmm. I felt rejected. I felt sad. I felt lonely.
Did you feel angry?
I did feel angry. And at one point I was like in my computer because thankfully Rana was with her dad for spring break, and then my sister-in-law and my brothers were all like out of town too, so it was just me at the office. So I just like cried hardcore. And then I remember at one point, I'm literally like crying, and then my inner child's like, "I want my mommy." And kid you not, the bitch called me right there and then.
Oh yeah, I remember you told me that.
She called me right there that second, and obviously she didn't call me to console me because that's not my mother, but I feel like maybe for the first time ever, like my inner child felt validated because I literally asked for my mommy and the bitch showed up like literally that second. It was like I even stopped crying. Like I was like, oh wow,
A response?
yeah,
The universe heard that.
yeah. I was like, wow.
So, did your mom? I mean, I know, like you said, it's not like she called to be like, "Hey, how was your EMDR session?" But did she know that you were? I didn't know if you had told her you were
No,
doing anything.
I don't tell her that shit. She knows I'm in therapy. She knows that I'm on anxiety medications. But she doesn't know. Like my mom's a 73-year-old Mexican woman stuck in her ways. So
So the next part of that question was, how did you feel in the following days? But I think you've mostly covered that. But is there anything more you want to say?
no, it was a whole like yeah. I think it kicked in Thursday. Yeah,
You did it on a Tuesday.
I did Tuesday. It full. Wednesday was like Thursday was like full blown. By Friday it was a little bit better, and then by Sunday it was gone. But I almost feel like I relived it. Like I think it's because I didn't allow myself to relive it the very second when I was doing it.
And it just like kind of crept in out of nowhere on the
Mm-hmm.
other days. It's like,
Yeah.
oh hey, we came back around here,
Like,
and
shut up, bitch. We're gonna live this.
yeah.
Yeah. And I cried about a lot of it out, I think.
Was there anything that surprised you about how you reacted? I guess that could either be like, were you surprised that you didn't feel anything during and immediately after?
I was. I was surprised I didn't feel anything very then because
Like in the moment?
I feel like in the moment because I feel like I've become more open.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day I mean of course, but you know what? Maybe because it was my inner child that was there. Because my inner child, none of the times me living that I ever went home and like ran to my bedroom and like cried in my bedroom, like, oh my God, what happened to me? No. I always just did like disassociated, like, oh,
So you've never processed it ever.
no. I like all those times that it happened, like I was just like, okay. And I just like went home. And then that's how I developed just being alone. And like I said, looking at back, I'm like, I would hate for any child to feel that way. Like, I would hate to know that my daughter, because I feel like even if that was happening to my daughter, she would still have me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I would still take, let's say that she, like, and then when I became older, like, I mean, I had my two friends, obviously. Those were the two friends I had. But, like, when they were doing other stuff with their other friends, then I was stuck doing nothing. I was by myself on the weekends, obviously. Um, and I wasn't upset though. But deep down, I had to be. You know, I'm a teenager who has nobody. But I feel like if that was happening to Rana, then I would be like, let's go to the movies. Let's go get our nails done. Let's go to whatever. Let's cook something together. Let's whatever. Like she like has me, you know, and I just feel like I didn't have anyone.
Because I guess, I mean, I was thinking you have sisters, but they were
They were all
older
both
than you.
married.
They already had their own
Yeah.
children. They weren't like in your house like your sister down the hall, you know.
And I still didn't tell them anything. Like my older sister now, I do tell her a lot of things, but at the time I still, and obviously she's a different person that she was back, because she's also like working on herself, so she's a different person that she was back then as well.
Why do you think you didn't tell your sisters or any, like, you know, your sister?
I didn't think anybody gave a shit. I didn't even think it was a big, I think that I just didn't even think that was a big deal. Like, who cares? Like, I'm telling you, like, when it happened in middle school, I'm gonna say her name because I fucking hate her. No, I forgive you, Blanca.
I mean, there could be a ton of Blancas.
So this Blanca girl, she showed up at 6th grade and looked at me and just straight up told me she hated me, and got all the other Mexicans to hate me. Everything I did bothered her. Like, it got so bad that we had to, like, the principal got involved
For literally no reason.
I'd never met her. And I remember Miss Dombrowski, she was our English teacher, language arts, English. She's the one that was like the mediator, and she said that she's like, you know what? She's like, I feel Nancy. She's like, because the very first time that I moved to my brand new school when I was in middle school, some random girl called my phone and said, I am this, my name is blah 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 blah, and I'm just gonna let you know that I don't like you. She's like, they shouldn't even give me that Blanca girl never gave me a chance.
Wow. And you know, I feel like around that age, that can happen a lot when you're like competing over a guy.
Nothing. We were complaining over nothing.
But as we know, you didn't even like somebody at your school.
No.
So it's like
No.
for literally nothing.
No, it was for literally nothing.
Not that it's okay to do it over a boy either, but I just mean like
for no
literally
reason.
nothing. That's wild.
At all.
Wild.
Yeah, so I don't even know where I was coming with that.
Because I think nope, I don't know what I asked. But so we were talking about if you were surprised about how you reacted like in the moment, but were you surprised a few days later that you started getting feelings?
Yes, because I didn't even link it till the end. Like, I was like, what the fuck is going on right now? Like, I felt like a loser. I felt like, what is wrong with me? Like, I think the fact that I was alone too. I was alone at work. I was alone at home. I just felt like, does somebody want me?
Oh yeah, I remember you were telling me again. You felt like, where is everybody?
Yeah.
And look, maybe that's what pushed you to actually feel it, because think about how you were feeling as a kid. You literally said, I had nobody to talk to. I just became alone. Like, whatever.
Yeah, food was my only friend back then.
Yeah.
And I don't even have food anymore either. So it's just
like, well, your feelings are here. You're feeling them.
Yeah.
You're feeling them. All right. Have you noticed any shifts in your thoughts, emotions, or behaviors since you did an EMDR session? I mean, it may be too soon to tell, but I don't know.
Well, I noticed that after I processed the pain and I was there for me, because like I said, no one was there for me. So I was there for me now. I think that it went away. Like, after I processed it and I was there for me and I comforted myself, and I did things to take care of myself. Um, it went away. So I did notice that because we did get it down to a 0. We did. It took the whole time, but we did.
Okay. So the next set of questions is about looking ahead. And this is actually not a question on here, just more of something I wanted to ask. But so you're going to do more sessions and they're going to touch on the same experiences, but at different times in your life.
So yeah, next we're going to do that one time in middle school. And then we'll do, the thing is that she's hoping that one of the sessions, the memory, my very first memory of the very first time that I felt unwanted will come up.
Mm.
And then we can target that. That's the goal. The goal is to get, because a lot of people are very lucky and they remember every second of their freaking lives. Like my mom, she said her first memory, she was 1 year old. So, I mean, Rata has great memory too. Like she has great memory. But I don't remember my childhood. So that's my biggest concern. I'm like, how the fuck do you, because EMDR, most of the stuff that happens is when you're like a child. So it's like, if I don't remember what the fuck happened, then how do you heal it? So yeah, we'll go to different, like, I guess the same feeling that you have, you'll heal it in
Like phase.
each phase of your life. Now, when you're like, when have you felt it now as an adult, like young adult, little, and then the littlest you've ever felt it, and then you'll heal it every single stage of your life.
So are you, this is also not on my list of questions, but do you think now that you have kind of processed your feelings around this first session, do you think your other sessions will feel different? Or do you think you'll be closed off again because it's
I think I might.
different?
I think I'm gonna try to be more open, but also I just, it wasn't intentional either.
Right.
Like I didn't think that I was gonna act like that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I acted like a scared child.
Well, and I think, well, one, because it was going to be scary having to relive something not fun, but also you hadn't really done an EMDR session before other than a quick little practice. So it's like kind of a lot of scary stuff at once. Like I feel like it's pretty
Yeah.
normal that someone would shut down a little bit. I think I might would as well.
And honestly, that's not even the biggest topic for me. I want to address, like yesterday, I was telling my friend, my mom friend, how my mom how my mom would leave me alone starting of the age of 12 to go to Mexico. And she was like, and then I tried to go on with the story. I was like, we're talking about learning how to drive, and her daughter's about to turn 15. I was like, have you taught her how to drive? She's like, no. She's like, how did you learn? I was like, oh, when my mom left to Mexico when I was 12, I just, one time I just took the keys and I started driving. She's like, and she would not let it go. She's like, what do you mean she left to Mexico? I'm like, that's not the story. The story is how I learned to drive.
And she's like, someone left you. And you're like, by the way, when I was like 8 or 9, they went to work too, and I had to take care of myself. So what? This is not a big deal.
Yeah,
but it is.
And then
but
she was
to
just
you.
like, what do you mean? I was like, yeah, my parents would go to Mexico. She's like, why? I'm like, I don't know. They wanted to go to Mexico and I didn't want to go. So they left me. And to me, that wasn't traumatic. So I feel like my real thing I want to work on EMDR is my parents' abandonment towards me.
I mean, yeah, because if
their
you
neglect.
If I was gonna say, if you felt literally nothing, like, because think about it, by then you had already been left alone and abandoned in other ways. Like, so probably by that point you probably were like, okay, cool, whatever, bye.
Yeah, she would leave me money, and I would just buy my own food and stuff. And I mean,
I find that to be pretty crazy.
I just thought it was normal. Like when I was telling her, she was like, I forgot it had happened. And she was like, what? I was like, let it go. It's not that serious.
Well, it's already happened now.
The point of the story is I drove to Chattanooga the day I learned to drive.
Oh, you're crazy. That's absolutely
That's the moral of the story.
I mean, do you think that there's going to be, like, based on the ones you have planned already, are you like thinking one of them's going to be more intense? Like, because you've already mentioned the middle school one. That one seems like it's got you pretty good there, which I understand. Like, are you expecting that to be more or less intense than the ones you've already done?
About the same topic or different topic?
Yeah, about like the situation, but from middle school. Are you thinking that's going to be?
I think the one that will be more intense, because I told her that I know the very first time that I felt it was in Mexico, and it was my mom. I think that's the one that's really gonna hurt.
That's gonna be the one.
Mm-hmm. Because I feel like me having a shitty relationship, me not feeling wanted by my mom, made me feel not wanted. And then also the only person in my family that I ever felt wanted from was my sister, my older sister. I have three older sisters, but she got married when I was 5 years old, and she left, and I was devastated.
So the one person,
yeah,
who was there for you,
I was devastated,
gone.
like torn to pieces. And then she left me with my shitty ass brother and my shitty ass sister, and then my other brother, he wasn't shitty, but she left me with two shitty people that did not want me at all. I was and I get it. I mean, one after another, like, I get it, lady. But my sister was the only one.
Yeah, but it wasn't your fault. You didn't ask to be born.
No.
But I get what you're saying, because I didn't want my brother either. So, and there was
Well,
like,
you didn't want.
There was only one.
I mean, I understand him, like, only one not person wanting you, but this is like,
yeah,
this is a whole lot of people.
Yeah, everybody else in my family clearly wanted him, so there's no animosity there. I'm gonna have to heal that one day. It's gonna be my the birth of my brother. Do you have like any? Okay, well, I guess this is the question. Looking ahead, how many sessions do you think you're going to end up doing? I guess specifically on this topic, we'll just answer it like that. Because you said what? There's the one of like when you lived in Mexico, and the one of elementary school is are those separate, or that's the same one?
That's the same one.
Okay.
And then middle school is that bitch, and then sorry, I forgive you. And
high
then
school?
What?
High school?
And then high school.
I know another one, but I don't think it traumatized you.
When that bitch that used to be your friend didn't want me around?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the.
Did you feel that too? Like, we actually have an experience where I was there, and I don't think anyone specifically said, like, bitch, I don't like you, but you could feel something.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm like, damn, okay. So, yeah.
Well, guess who's here and who's not here?
Right? But isn't that interesting? Like, so I've even seen you experience that. And do you know, I wonder if you've ever, I don't know why you felt this way. Maybe there's something that I don't remember. I'm not going to say names, but when we worked together at a certain place where people could buy items for their feet.
Oh my God.
And there was a girl that you didn't like, and she happened to be Hispanic. And I feel like you didn't like her. And I wonder if that, you know how people say people who, I'm not saying you bullied her, because I don't know. I didn't see your interaction, but.
Oh, I did bully her.
You know, okay. But people who bully, you know, people who have been bullied, then they bully people.
Absolutely.
Do you think did something happen you just didn't like her, or do you think it's from all your trauma?
I think it's my trauma. There was no reason not to like her.
Yeah.
I actually ran into her years later at the OBGYN, and she worked there.
Mm-hmm.
And I apologize.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I know you saw her. I didn't know if y'all had like a heart-to-heart, though.
No, we didn't have a heart-to-heart, but I apologized to her. But she didn't like me either. Like, she found me threatening. I mean, she kicked me away from her going away party, remember?
Oh, no, I don't think I went to any going away party either. Did I go?
Yeah, you did. You were there. It was you, me, and what's his name, and what's her name, and everybody was there. And it was at Las Palmas. And she told me she didn't want me there.
So how'd you end up there? Because the rest of us went and told you?
Yeah, you guys wanted me there. And then when she realized that I was there,
she's like, this is my fucking party and you're here?
Yeah, she was like, this is my going away party. I don't want her there.
Did you leave?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I acted like I didn't give a shit, but I did.
I'm blanking on I mean,
you took a picture outside all of us.
Yeah, I feel like that's the part I remember. I have forgotten the rest.
No, I did become a bully. I want to go ahead and say that. I became exactly what it was a defense mechanism.
I mean, I think that's what happens. That's how, I mean, how many people are just bullies for fun? Most people, I guess everybody. You're like, you don't want me, I don't want you, and we'll just.
It was a defense mechanism.
So I wonder if from the start, from the girl from the where we worked, if she was rejecting you right away, or if you, from your energy about it all, or if you, like, I wonder who didn't like who first. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, let's see who ends up being more afraid. I think she tried really hard for me to like.
But we all shared. I mean, I feel like we were all like friends, like separate of each other and together. So it
was like one of those like weird like shows where everybody hates each other but they hang out.
God, we could have had a show.
Yeah, we could have had a show.
It would have been fucking hilarious. Actually,
it would have been fucking hilarious
because we were a very diverse cast.
We were. I mean, we all hung out together.
We were all crazy. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. What are your goals moving forward with What are your goals moving forward with EMDR? And it doesn't have to specifically, I know you said like this particular goal, like you want to get to this stuff with your mom, but I guess I'm thinking like, and you can talk about that as well, but are you at this moment thinking you're going to do it for anything else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For, that cute little, molestation. Yeah.
Sexual trauma from childhood.
Hmm.
I think that would be something people would do EMDR for.
I want to eventually get like I'm dipping my toes in. Eventually, I want to get to that.
That makes sense. Yeah. So this isn't a question here, but I want to know because I wondered about this for myself. Obviously, when you have an EMDR session, most people go to therapy and they have like a what like you start let's just I'm giving an example. You start at 6, you're done at like 6:50. Normally there's that kind of time frame because therapists have to go make their notes and get ready for the next one, or go
Hmm.
home and have a life. But the thing is, it takes up the whole session,
It does.
and I feel like if you're planning for that, sure, but if you are someone who's in therapy and you have like normal chaos
Turmoil.
going on in your life, like how, did you and your therapist talk at all about balancing out between, or would it just be like if you showed up to session like we got to work on this instead today, sorry?
No, yeah, she told me that. She's like, we can do another session of EMDR, which will be Tuesday.
Okay.
Or if something like is shitty going on in your life, or that. Oh yeah, I've been able to sleep, guys.
Like you could pause it
Mhm.
and be like, we got to focus on this.
No, yeah, she said, and she even said that before. She's like, "How are you feeling? Blah blah blah. Are you feeling good?" I was like, "Yeah." She was, "So you ready to get it? Are you ready to do this?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Okay." So yeah, she told me, she's like, "If next session you want to do another session of EMDR, we can." Or she said, "If you want to like just talk and then we'll like, I guess, space it out if it was like too much for you." But I feel like I've been carrying this stuff for so long. I just want to get the fuck rid of it. Like,
Yeah.
get the fuck away from me already. I'm done.
Yeah, I think I would feel that way, right? Like once you started, I'd want to, if
Yeah,
there's going to be multiple sessions, like let's go.
let's just.
But I do think it would be hard for me because I feel like I have therapy every other week. So do
Mm-hmm,
you.
mm-hmm.
So, but I always feel like there's always like just a little piece of something new I want to say. But I'm like, I don't think there's time. I feel
But
like there will be
honestly, is it
time.
more important than the real baggage that we're carrying? Like, come on. Like, what
I don't
happened?
know. I think it
What
depends on
happened
what it
in,
is.
I mean, sometimes crazy shit does happen, I get it. Yeah.
But okay, I was just curious, like, what the balance, like, how do you balance
I
that?
feel like I want to push through as many as I can. And if at one point I'm like, you know what? I need something, then yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I know we're still early on in these stages. I think it'd be really nice to do an update maybe after you kind of complete
This little
the.
set of fun things.
Yeah, I mean we can, and maybe by then I'll have done mine. I don't have a plan of, I have a plan that I'm going to do it, but we haven't started prepping or saying we got there yet because I'm working on other stuff in this moment. But from your first experience, would you recommend it to others?
I do. I do. I feel like having someone there with you, because that's also the thing I like about EMDR, that you're going to relive your trauma, but trauma isn't really the trauma. Trauma's going through it alone. That's when it becomes trauma. Because you can go through something traumatic, but if someone's there for you, it's not as traumatic.
I mean, think about it. If you are alone, or even if you're not alone, but you don't feel like you have somebody to talk to about it in the moment, you just
Mm-hmm.
hold it in forever. And look, like you said, this thing
Mm-hmm.
kept happening to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like if you have support, like your therapist will be your support now. You won't be alone, and your brain doesn't know when it happened.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's supposed to like reprogram.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your brain doesn't know that it didn't happen right now. Your brain just thinks it happened, so it has no time concept of time. So now you're gonna. But if someone's there for you, it's not as traumatic.
And the last question is, do you have any advice for someone who's thinking about starting EMDR?
Fucking do it. Just do it. Just do it. Anybody, please, if you're out there, everyone. I think everyone needs to go to therapy. Everyone needs to do whatever it is that they can do to be better. Especially as millennials, we're so fucked up.
I mean, a lot. I mean, I guess probably literally every generation can probably say this. I guess every generation has their own set of. I mean, I'm talking about like traumatic events that maybe didn't even happen specifically to you, but like in your
Mm-hmm.
world, right?
Yeah, we all have. Yeah, we all have like 9/11. Like,
Let me tell you, this one seems really small, but like Y2K, I don't know if you were old enough to, or because I'm older than you. I literally was outside that night thinking like the world was about to end, and I'm like, I'm gonna see like all the because my grandmother was pretty like she didn't like go to church religiously, but she was religious. And like I'm just like, I'm about to see Jesus on a white horse, like coming to collect his people. Because people are like all the like internet's gonna crash, and then people are like the world's gonna end, and I'm just like
The
outside
internet
like
was
what?
gonna crash, like it was so up. No, yeah, I did. My parents, we had a big laundry room, and it was full.
See, that's traumatic. You're thinking everything's about to. So that there was that, but yeah, 9/11.
It took years to finish that food.
Oh my god, I bet. But 9/11 was a big one. I had never flown before 9/11, and that whole thing. I mean, I know it traumatized a bunch of you. I mean, obviously, so many people.
Yeah, my parents had a trip planned to like ditch me in Mexico, and we had to postpone it. They still went. They still flew me there and left me there for months, but not the point.
Yeah.
That was around that time. Not right. What year was that?
2001.
So I was in 6th grade.
You were in what?
I was in 6th grade.
Oh my god, I was a freshman in high school.
No, I was in. Yeah, I was in 6th grade. I was in home economics.
Are we 3 years apart school wise? I guess because your birthday's October. Oh my god, I was in high school and you were just starting middle school. You're such a baby. Cute. And then I feel like this did affect us, but also not because we were still like kind of growing up. But the recession.
I mean,
like,
but can you imagine how it affected the Middle Eastern people in America?
For sure.
Oh my god,
sure.
They must have been fucking. People must have treated them like shit.
People still are.
No, yeah.
I mean, literally, people still are.
Yeah, they
I
are.
mean, and then the recession when everybody was worried about their jobs and everything was becoming expensive, and gas got really expensive. I mean,
Right
gas is
now.
not super. I mean, but yeah, think about it, like over years, like all kinds of crazy stuff like that,
Yeah.
and it will really shape like your feelings about like your environment and your where you live. So those are like different kind of traumas, but they bother. They affect you. Well, I do hope that if you're somebody who's been considering EMDR, or if you're like me, because when I was considering it, I'm like, I really want to know a little more about it before I say yes. I hope that, this was able to give you like a sense of what it could be used for, and if it's, if it sounds like something you're interested in. And like I said, I think it would be really helpful to check back in on this in the future and kind of see how it's helped you. And eventually I'm planning to do EMDR for a car accident I was in, I don't even know anymore, like 6 years ago or something, because it has really changed how I feel about traveling anywhere in general or being on the interstate. So that was my big traumatic experience. I'm planning to do it with at some point.
That's it.
Well, I'm sure there'll be more.
Out of everything, you were fucked up before, bitch. You were fucked up before.
I mean,
let's keep it real.
That's true.
You were fucked up the day I met you.
But for me, I feel like that's something that I could that's something very specific that I feel like I would want to target, and it will just help my overall like life when I have to be on the streets. But thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you next time.
Hey besties, if you love the chaos, the laughs, and the real talk, don't forget to hit the follow button. Subscribe, share, and tell your friends, because bitches be cray, and you know you love it. New episodes drop every other Wednesday, so stay tuned and stay cray. Bye, bitches.
Okay, so what EMDR is eye movement desensitization. No, let me see. Eye movement desensitization. I want to say that word like 4 times. I want to cut this. Eye movement desensitization. This will be in the bloopers. Eye movement desensitization.
I'll do it. Give me that.